Governor Malloy of Connecticut and Rick Perry of Texas were on Candy Crowley's show on CNN talking about gun policy, and Perry kind of slipped up here and let you know exactly what his main concern is on this issue.
Or any of the looser laws on guns in these states hurt Connecticut?
Well, I think we have a federal problem in the sense that we are rejecting the idea that we should have tighter controls on who has a gun. Universal background checks would make everyone safer in their states and in mine. It is a starting point. We should not be assigning or allowing folks who have mental health challenges currently to acquire guns. We should not have a system that allows people who have extensive criminal records to get around
I don't think any of you all would disagree with that.
The restrictions that you see in states like Connecticut, when you think about the Northeast, that was the Silicon Valley, if you will, of gun manufacturing. And you're seeing those manufacturers leaving the Northeast because of the taxation, the regulations, and just the attitude towards manufacturers of weapons. As a matter of fact, Governor Bentley was announced on Monday. Remington is moving 2,000 jobs being created there in Huntsville. Governor Haslam of Tennessee welcomed Beretta into his state. We invited Magpul into Texas. So you're seeing a shift of these manufacturers out of states that don't want them there.
That's great, and that's amazing, and that's so telling, and I'm going to explain to you why right now. So notice, Candy Crowley's asking a very straightforward question about the effects of different gun policies. And Governor Malloy of Connecticut jumps right into substance. Like, hey, if you look at the federal gun laws in the U.S., we're lacking. I mean, what we need is universal background checks because 40% of the gun purchases in the U.S. have no background check associated with it whatsoever, and that's mainly because of the gun show loophole. Now, we have people in this country who have really serious mental health problems, paranoid schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, etc., that can just buy a gun like it's nothing. Do we want that to happen in the U.S.? Do we want people with extensive criminal records to be able to get their hand on a gun no problem? Do you want to make it easy for them? I mean, what about suspected terrorists? If you're on the terrorist watch list, you can still legally buy a gun in the United States. That's insanity. But instead of, fixing that, we're not. We're not. And Malloy is saying we should. And then when Rick Perry jumps in, man, he shows his cards. He shows you exactly what goes on in Republican circles. He didn't give a second's consideration to the serious issues that Malloy brought up or the gun deaths in the United States, the epidemic level of gun deaths. He jumped right to the manufacturers. What do the manufacturers want? What do they think about it? We need to be accommodating to them. And that tells you everything you need to know right there. Because like we always tell you on this show, the reason why we haven't gotten any type of gun legislation passed after Sandy Hook on a federal level is because of the manufacturers. What happens is the gun manufacturers give money to the NRA. The NRA then turns around and gives money to national-level politicians and also state-level politicians. And then guess what? That money is not no strings attached. They're giving them that money when they run their campaigns, and then when they get in office, it's I scratch your back, you scratch mine. So what does the NRA ask for on behalf of the gun manufacturers? Don't you dare pass any gun legislation. Because if you pass any gun legislation, anything, no matter how common sense it is, it's going to cut into our profits. And we want to make as much money as possible because we're corporations, and that's what we do. So Rick Perry, no consideration whatsoever for the problem of gun violence in the U.S. I mean, look at the statistics, man. It's mind-blowing. 32,000 people die every year from guns in the U.S. In Britain, that number's less than 100. France, less than 100. Australia, less than 100. That's not a coincidence. They have more sane gun laws. We have gun anarchy here. But he's not concerned about that. He's concerned about the gun manufacturers making more money because they pay him and they pay the Republican Party. And finally, all Malloy is asking for, and this is a very moderate position, he's just saying, let's do universal background checks. I'm not even calling for high-capacity magazine bans. I'm not even calling for an assault weapons ban. Let's do universal background checks on the federal level. And by the way, a study came out just this past week that concrete. We now know, as a matter of fact, not that we didn't before, but this solidifies it. Study from Missouri. They had repealed their background check law. In the years since then, gun deaths has shot up 16%. The conclusion of the study was that anywhere from, I think it was 63 deaths to 77 deaths more happen every year now because they repealed the background check that they used to have. But again, Rick Perry, not concerned with that. Not concerned with that. He's only concerned about the gun manufacturers making more money.